So I was browsing Facebook looking for conservative relatives to argue with when I saw this little post here. No Marvel movies for a year. Cinema is healing. And then like these little heart smiley faces. Pretty good memes, pretty funny. Something you just laugh at and move on with your day, you know? I'm gonna make a video about it. Now, I don't know if this post is serious. That could 100% be joking. But a lot of the comments took it very seriously. So let's talk about that. Now you, viewer at home, yes you may have noticed it's been some time since the last Marvel movie has been released. Why is that? Because they ran out of ideas, of course. No, it's because, on top of the fact that they had to massively delay Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because of some old edgy tweets, due to current events, Marvel had to Roblox oof meme their entire schedule over a notch. Down a notch? The original Black Widow release date has come and gone. Everyone waved to the alternate timeline of Chads who got to watch it already because they wore masks. And now, it's been a full year without Marvel movies. There hasn't been a movie since July of last year. I believe it was Spider-Man, kind of a disappointing movie, but the villain was really good too. Now, I'm a huge Marvel fan. You may have seen that MCU video I made where I sucked Kevin Feige's dick for 10 minutes. If you haven't watched it, please don't. It's cringe. Or if you do watch it, just pretend you're watching a video from 2011 and not last year. It gets way better.
It's a lot like Nothing But Trouble.
Yeah, kind of.
It's ambitious, but oh boy, did it.
But yeah, I love Marvel so much that I'm willing to put hours into making content about it. So that's how big of a fan I am. So you'd think that a year-long absence of Marvel movies would be driving me nuts, right? Actually, no. I'm actually pretty cool with it. It's not that I'm sick of them, because I'm not. I just think, in retrospect, it was good to have a little breather, you know? The way I see it, the 11 years of the MCU that we got was like having really good SEX double hockey sticks, and then Endgame was kind of like the climax, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, Matt, you've had sex, right? You know what I'm talking about. And 2020 is like us like sitting back having a cigarette, you know? Because it's killing our lungs. But now I'm done catching my breath, I'm done catching coronavirus, and I'm ready for Marvel to come riding in triumphantly on its majestic steed, David Harbour doing a funny accent. But I know for a lot of people, the return of Marvel movies is looming over like a big, dark, cinema-killing shadow. Like it's gonna come back and just wipe out the film industry once and for all. But we gotta address two questions here. First question, is the absence of Marvel movies healing cinema somehow? Obviously no. Because you know why there's no Marvel movies? Because there's no movies. Thank you for the zoom, thank you. Cinema isn't healing, it's more like it's in a coma. If anything, the absence of Marvel movies is the sign of the coming cinema apocalypse. Second question, were Marvel movies destroying cinema in the first place? That depends. Is your definition of cinema being destroyed, there's Marvel movies? If so, then yeah, probably. But if your definition is it's devaluing the art form of filmmaking, no. The answer is it's not. Now, is the art form of filmmaking getting devalued? Yes, that's a thing that's happening, and certain movies are causing it, but it's not Marvel movies. Actually, pretty much the opposite. Get ready for this, Matt. I think they're valuable to cinema.
Well, I actually agree, though.
Part 1. What the fuck, Jeremy? Are you on crack? How are Marvel movies valuable to cinema? I mean, I like Marvel movies as much as the next guy, but if you're gonna sit here and pretend like they're high art, then you got another thing coming, buddy. Well, let's ask ourselves, what makes a movie valuable to cinema? To me, it's doing something transformative and giving the audience an experience that they haven't had before. It's pushing the boundaries of what movies can be. Now, does Marvel fall under that category? Well, Ant-Man 2 probably fucking doesn't, but let's take a look back at what Marvel did back when it was a little diaper baby studio that constantly lost the phone numbers of its actors. When they popped onto the scene with Iron Man, they weren't just setting out to adapt a particular story or a character. They were setting out to adapt an entire universe. They took a look at the serialized format of comic books where multiple characters are having their own individual adventures, but they all take place in the same universe and can freely interact with each other, and they were like, bro, what if we did that? What if we did comics, but like, with movies? And it blew people's minds. People were like, is this legal? Should I report it to the movie police? No, it's fine. It's just something that had never been done before. It was being transformative. It took the art form of filmmaking and did something new with it. It expanded our perceptions of the way you could tell stories, not in an artsy Mulholland Drive kind of way, but in a new way nonetheless.
I like that. Can you say Mulholland Drive?
You like that, say Mulholland Drive?
And you have to give them credit, because they had no idea it would be successful. This small studio that had essentially never made a movie before created the most successful franchise in history because they had the balls to try something new. That's some Star Wars shit. That's historical. They'll be writing about that in fucking math books. And it taught all the right lessons about how to make a great, successful franchise. So of course a bunch of other movie studios learned all the wrong lessons from it. Part 2. Now there's a bunch of shitty cinematic universes and it makes me want to die. So we have the DC shared universe, we have the Universal Monsters universe, we have the Conjuring universe, we have the King Kong versus Godzilla universe. Fuck me, Matt and I watched Scooby the other day and it turned out to be the Hanna-Barbera Avengers. Matt loves Scooby-Doo, so it's funny seeing his reaction to it.
I just wanted them to look for clues.
So yes, the MCU was influential in some negative ways, but this is hardly the first time that's happened. Let's look at The Matrix. That movie threw so many new concepts and approaches to filmmaking at us that it became an instant classic. But it also inspired a decade of crappy leather costumes and slow-mo effects. But are you gonna hold that against The Matrix? You can't blame The Matrix for Zack Snyder having a career, the same way you can't blame Psycho for all of its terrible sequels and adaptations, and you can't blame the original Disney masterpieces for all these repackaged, shitty RTX on versions. By the way, people like to say how 3 Marvel movies a year is too much, but who wants to talk about the fact that there was 5 live-action Disney remakes in 2019? In my opinion, every time there's a movie that tries to make a few bucks off of the tried and true success of something else, that's what's degrading cinema. Anytime they try to just sell us the same stuff over and over and over again, it shows a vast lack of respect for the audience's intelligence. And you know that's true because they rarely ever bother even trying to make those movies good. They're all like, who cares? The audience is just gonna eat up whatever we throw at them as long as we tell them the fucking Smurf Avengers are gonna show up. But audiences see right through it. And that's why Marvel is still successful and Universal still can't get their monster universe off the ground, no matter how much Tom Cruise Scientology magic they have. Part 3. But they're doing what you just described. There's like a billion movies. They're just banking off their own success and churning out the same old garbage. Yeah, there's a lot of movies. I thought the only franchise I had to beat was Godzilla. But while I was fact-checking that, I found out that there's a series of over 77 films all about this guy whose name I dare not attempt to pronounce, all of which starred this guy whose name I dare not attempt to pronounce. Just a cool little fact I learned. But yeah, Marvel movies. There's an insane number of entries and no end in sight. So I can see how to fucking normies, it looks like they're just crapping these things out. But here's the thing about that. These movies are based off of 80 years of Marvel history. And more than a few of those stories are worth adapting. It'd be weirder if they stopped after just a handful of them. If they adapted Harry Potter and they were like, oh, let's just make 2 of them, they'll get the idea. Harry Potter fans would be pissing their jimmies. They'd be throwing fucking Molotov butterbeers through windows. So when you're taking on the task of adapting an entire universe, tens of thousands of issues of storytelling, there's gonna be a lot of movies. And honestly, ask anyone who's hardcore into the comics, they'll tell you even 3 movies a year is barely cutting it for us. The constant stress of Marvel fans is, oh my god, I hope they get to this story before this actor leaves. I hope they introduce this character I like in time to interact with this other character that I like. I hope a fucking pandemic doesn't happen and stop all production. There's so many stories to tell in this universe and only so much time to tell them, just given the nature of movies. These actors have to leave eventually. They have families to go home to. They have dick pics to leak. And that's why they're doing all these Disney Plus shows now. They want to get to as much of it as possible. And what's great about that? All the stories that they want to adapt are completely new to general audiences. Because they're not just rehashing the same old shit. When you have such a rich pool of source material to work with, you really have no need to. I get the sense that Marvel is making all these movies because they love the comics and they want to bring them to life. Now, I'm sure Disney is delighted with all the money it's bringing in, but at least it seems like for the most part, they're leaving it alone. Like they're just sitting back and letting the money-making factory do its thing. Like, do you think Disney would consciously tell Marvel to make a movie about the Eternals, a team that most people have never heard of? No, Marvel's doing it because they have a story to tell. Now, does that mean Marvel never makes generic, samey shit? No, of course not. Every once in a while, they'll make something that's just like, oh, that was kinda nothing. But they're self-aware. Anytime they make a movie that wasn't well received or didn't turn out the way that they had hoped, they take a new direction with it. And what's funny is they've never made something that was such a critical or financial failure that they would have to. They've only ever done it because they wanted to. They want to keep giving you movies that they're proud of because they respect you as an audience member. Now, are any of these movies great cinema? Yeah, a couple of them are actually, but for the most part, they're designed to have mass appeal, like the comics that they're based on. But what sets them apart from like the Transformers franchise is that they come with a big old squishy helping of heart. Oftentimes these movies have something to say. You could feel the personalities of these directors laid out on the screen. So many of us are invested in these fictional characters because it feels like they have a soul. I know people like Martin Scorsese would probably say otherwise, but I think the general consensus when that whole thing was happening was that when he tried to watch the Marvel movies, he must have accidentally like closed his eyes, put his fingers in his ears and started going la 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 the entire time, which, you know, not ideal. I think you gotta look at Tarantino. I think he's a perfect example of being able to appreciate the more fun, wide appeal side of cinema, as well as the more ambitious, artistic side, and everything in between. He mentioned he enjoys Marvel movies, and this guy likes feet, so you know he's a man of culture. He also mentioned his favorite was Thor Ragnarok because he loves Taika Waititi. Oh yeah, by the way, some of these movies are directed by beloved filmmakers, and somehow they don't become bad at directing just because you slap a Marvel logo on their movies. Essentially, I don't have anything new to say, but I just think it's interesting to revisit this argument now that we've had the year without a Marvel movie. We took it for a test drive, but personally, I'm ready to jump back into this world that I love. I've been a Marvel fan since I was a little kid, and I've always dreamed that they would do something like this with the movies, that they would put all the characters I love in the same universe. And now that it's here, and it's good, my inner child couldn't be happier. He's doing donuts on his Heelys right now, so I just want to enjoy it while it lasts. If you don't like them, that's fine. Don't watch him. No one's forcing you to. But please, just let me have this. I just want this one good thing in my life. I just want to feel joy. Thanks for watching my video. Please comment your opinions down below. I want to read them. I want to engage with them. I want to deep throat them. And I wanted to real quick plug my friend Matt Amar's new video. He worked very hard on it and I helped. I'll see you next time. The next video is going to be about poop.